All right, folks. So in this particular video, we are going to be looking at word choice and tone. And our specific learning goal is to be able to analyze the impact of word choice and tone on the purpose or main idea of a text. So if you want to review some questions that are similar to this, take a look at question 2 and question 6 from your pretest, the Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. And these are the types of questions that I'd be asking to help analyze your ability to do this, to analyze word choice and tone. So turns out word choice matters, right? There are over 150,000 words that are in the English language today that are in common use. Average person uses about 2,000 to 3,000 in their normal vocabulary day to day. So it's really important what words we choose because obviously there's lots of words we can use. To put that in context, Shakespeare in his plays used about a little over 5,000. And the Wu-Tang Clan, if you don't know who the Wu-Tang Clan is, got to look up on your 90s hip hop. They used almost 6,000, right? So really large vocabularies that had purpose and meaning in their plays and in their songs. So some things to know about words that we're using is all words have kind of two ways we can look at them. There's the literal meaning, the denotation or the definition of a word, and there's also the implied meaning, the connotation of a word. Right. So if I use the term or if I use the color red, like red is a primary color, you know, it's this on the spectrum, it's complementary colors to this. That's the literal definition. But red also has connotations about being, it could have other connotations like being angry or being scared or something that's dangerous. If we talk about being red in the 1950s, that meant you were communist, right? There's that connotation. It's not the literal definition of red, but it had that connotation of communism in the 1950s. There's also tones of words. Different words that we choose have different kind of attitudes towards them. And so usually if you're trying to convey a specific tone, type a word and then look up synonyms. Is there anything else that gets more toward the feeling of the passage that I'm trying to write? And then the last term that I want you to know is just diction is another word for word choice. So if I talk about an author's diction, that means the words that they're choosing to use. So here's a couple of great examples of tones that an author can have. And there's a great YouTube video from Khan Academy, again, that I'd love for you to pause and take a watch. Again, it's about 4 minutes, and it does a great job of explaining, here's how to identify tone in a piece of writing. So pause this video, watch that other video, and then hop on back. The other link I have here is a great resource. It's a list of like 150 words that can describe author's tone. So as you're maybe going through some of your practice work, have this document open so you have some ideas of like, okay, how do I describe tone? I've got some tones up here as well that you could maybe even put into your notes and say like, is this a depressing tone? Is this a joyful tone? Is this a scornful tone? Are they scolding people? Just remember the tone is an author's attitude towards their subject. So let's take a look at a passage from Martin Luther King, that I Have a Dream speech. So I've identified a couple of specific keywords that I think, and I've split this up into kind of negatively connotated words and positively connotated words, right? So he starts off this paragraph with a lot of negative connotations: refuse, bankrupt, insufficient. Those all have negative kind of attitudes in them. And then he switches to riches of freedom and security of justice. Those are positive things. And what this is doing is this is really emphasizing that the Black community in America in the 1960s had a lot of these negative connotations in regards to its feeling towards American policy. And it felt like it was being shut out from some of these positive connotations. A check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice, right? He wants those positively connotative ideas for the Black community in the 1960s. So that's just a way that some connotation of words can really reinforce the meaning of a passage. So I want you to practice this. Take a read through this paragraph and see which tone best fits this passage. Did you do it? All right. So again, process of elimination. Is he angry? I don't think he's angry. He's not really bitter. He's not like lamenting the fact that this hasn't happened before and he's kind of seething about American politics. And I also don't think he's peaceful. because he's saying like, we refuse to believe, we refuse. And so we've come to cash this check, right? It's not peaceful words. I'd say it's impassioned, like he's speaking passionately, refusing and demanding that we come and cash this check. It's not anger, it's not bitter, it's passionate. Okay, here's another one. This passage again from Wordsworth, The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls. This is a piece of a poem. I want you to try to identify what tone is being used in this passage. Is it joyful? No, not really. Is it dark and serene? Yeah, we've got literally the word darkness, and it is kind of peaceful. Little waves with their soft hands kind of gives me the serene and peaceful idea. Is it intense? Nope. Thoughtful? Yes. Curious? Probably not. So I think the best answer here would be B. So again, check yourself. Did you get that one right? All right. And the next thing that we do with tone after we can identify it is how do we figure out how to explain how is this tone connecting to that overall main idea. This one's a little bit challenging because I want to give us an example that the word choice does impact the tone, does kind of impact the meaning of this, of a work. So looking at this same passage, if I just change one word, I want you to see how this changes kind of the meaning of the text. So darkness settles on the roofs gives me that peaceful feeling. Darkness clawed at the roof, that would give me like this fearful or foreboding idea. Or if darkness crashed on the roof, that would be sort of a violent and intense tone to this passage, right? But Wordsworth wanted to create this peaceful feeling of darkness overcoming a town. And so he uses that word settles, right? Same literal meaning for all three of these, three very different connotative meanings for all three of these. So how we're going to talk about this is with, I'm going to give you a specific sentence structure. We're going to talk about the author's blank tone does this and then provides examples. So what are they saying and how are they saying it? I'll give you some examples here. So in this same passage from Martin Luther King, I might say Martin Luther King employs an impassioned tone to back up his calls for justice and equality. So here's how I'm connecting my tone to his main idea. And then I'm giving some examples of how he's doing this. He uses phrases like refuse to believe, that's impassioned. And he uses words such as demand, that's an impassioned word, right? So here's a great example of one sentence that you can use to describe tone. I'll have you do another one, or I'll give you one more example. So looking at that Longfellow poem, The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls, I'm saying Longfellow's peaceful yet dark tone, right? Now I'm pulling two pieces of tones together in his poem, The Tide Rises, emphasizes this because I'm seeing these two words, right? Now I'm putting effaced and settled kind of in comparison. Effaced is giving me that dark tone because it means to like erase and wash out. And settled is that peaceful tone. So he's kind of balancing this destructive but peaceful feel of nature in its natural elements. All right, make sure you have this structure down in your notes. It's something that I'm going to be asking you to use. And I think that's what we've got. Good luck, folks.